Welcome to Bedtime Stories to Fall Asleep, Donald Trump edition. So why did I pick up Donald Trump? Well, I picked him up for a very specific reason. And it's this. Whether you love Donald Trump or hate his guts, this man, he gets what he wants. He wants to, back 40 years ago, he wanted to be great when it came to making buildings in New York. He created some of the largest buildings there. He wanted to go into TV then with no TV experience. He created the most popular show on TV. Then he told himself, hey, I want to go into politics. I have no experience when it comes to politics, but I'm going to go, what am I going to do? Am I going to be a politician? Where do I go? You know what? I'm just going to go and shoot for the presidency. So that's what he did. And he got it. He's just one of those people who seems to get what he wants. And when it comes to sleep, if he wants to have good sleep, do you think it's going to be difficult for him? Or do you think if he wants good sleep, he's going to get it? He's fucking getting it. So that's why we have one episode of Donald Trump tonight. Just one I'm gonna shoot, and that is So let's get started. So let's get started with a book called The Art of the Deal. We're gonna go through a day in the life of Donald Trump. What are the things that he does during the day and during towards bedtime to help him fall asleep? Well, let's check that out. Chapter 1. Dealing. A week in the life. I don't do it for the money. I've got enough, much more than I'll ever need. I do it to do it. Deals are my art form. Other people paint beautifully on canvas or write wonderful poetry. I like making deals, preferably big deals. That's how I get my kicks. Most people are surprised by the way I work. I play it very loose. I don't carry a briefcase. I try not to schedule too many meetings. I leave my door open. You can't be imaginative or entrepreneurial if you've got too much structure. I prefer to come to work each day and just see what develops. Playing it very loose. He doesn't sound like a Bernist, does he? Is Trump maybe a healthist? Well, let's see. Monday, 10 a.m. I called Dontemus to thank him. Emus has one of the most successful radio shows in the United States on WNBC, and he's been helping to raise money for the Annabelle Hill Fund. What's the Annabelle Hill Fund? I'm amazed at how this has snowballed into such a media event. It began last week when I saw a national news report by Tom Brokaw about this adorable little lady from Georgia, Miss Hill, who was trying to save her farm from being foreclosed, from being taken by a bank. A foreclosure, if you don't know what foreclosure is, a bank wants to take your home away from you and leave you on the street as a result. So Trump, he heard about that story and he wanted to help this lady out, who was trying to save her, not just her house, but her farm. So it's not just the place she lives in, it's the place she makes money from as well. Her 67-year-old husband had committed suicide a few weeks earlier, hoping his life insurance would save the farm, which had been in the family for generations. But the insurance proceeds weren't nearly enough. It was a very sad situation and I was moved. Here were people who'd worked very hard and honestly all their lives only to see it all crumble before them. To me, just seemed wrong. Through NBC, I was put in touch with a wonderful guy from Georgia named Frank Argenbright, who'd become very involved in trying to help Mrs. Hill. Frank directed me to the bank that held Mrs. Hill's mortgage. The next morning I called and got some vice president on the line. I explained that I was a businessman from New York. Yes, and this is not Trump the president calling. This is a businessman, still a man in his 20s, late 20s or early 30s. Nobody knows who he is yet. So even besides that, he still picks up the phone and calls that bank. The bank that wants to kick the lady out on the street just after her husband had died. The next morning I called and got some vice president on the line. I explained that I was a businessman from New York and that I was interested in helping Mrs. Hill. He told me he was very sorry, but that it was too late. They were going to auction off the farm. He said, and nothing or no one is going to stop it. They were going, in other words, to throw the lady on the street, and nobody was going to stop it, they told Donald. That really got me going. I said to the guy, you listen to me, if you do foreclose, if you do throw the woman out on the street, I'll personally bring a lawsuit for murder against you and your bank on the grounds that you harassed Mrs. Hill's husband to his death. All of a sudden, the bank officer sounded very nervous and said he'd get right back to me. Sometimes it pays to be a little wild, or as I call it, a little primal. An hour later, I got a call back from the banker and he said, don't worry, we're going to work it out, Mr. Trump. Mrs. Hill and Frank Argentbright told the media, and the next thing I knew, it was the lead story on the network news. By the end of the week, we'd raised $40,000. Emos alone raised $20,000 by appealing to his listeners as a Christmas present to Mrs. Hill and her family. We've scheduled a mortgage burning ceremony for Christmas Eve in the atrium of Trump Tower. By then, I'm confident we'll have raised all the money. I've promised Mrs. Hill that if we haven't, I'll make up the difference. And that is what happens when you go primal. Primal is not just about following your gut and doing things for yourself, which is totally fine, but doing things for others as well, helping them if you feel like you can do it, going all in. I tell Emus he's the greatest, and I invite him to be my guest one day next week at the tennis matches at the US Open. I have a courtside box and I used to go myself almost every day. Now I'm so busy, I mostly just send my friends. 12 o'clock, noon. Jerry, let's see, how do we read this? Schoenfeld. I'm gonna say Schoenfeld. I kinda like that. Gary Schoenfeld, head of the Schubert organization, the biggest Broadway theater owners, goes to recommend a woman for a job as an office administrator. He tells me the woman specifically wants to work for Donald Trump, and I say she's crazy, but I'll be happy to see her. That's what happens when you take risks. That's a primal woman right there. She knows what she wants and she goes with her gut, saying to herself, hey, I want to work for Donald Trump. I'm going to work for Donald Trump. And Trump also open-headed is like, yeah, that sounds crazy, going to the top, from the bottom to the top, wanting to work for me, but hey, let's try it out. Let's see, at least gives her a chance. That's what an open-headed man does. I like it. 1:15 p.m. Anthony Lehman. Such interesting names. Anthony Lehman stops by to discuss the Woman Ring Project. What's the Woman Ring Project? Lehman was housing commissioner under Ed Koch. At the time, we fought a lot, and even though I ended up beating him in court, I always thought he was bright. I don't hold it against people that they have opposed me. Okay, so Trump and this guy, they were fighting in court. Have you ever watched court episodes, court shows, or court-related movies? People hate each other when they fight in court. They are as dog and cat in a fight to the death. That's what typically happens. And they're definitely not friends. But proceed. See what happens here. I always thought he was bright. I don't hold it against people that they have opposed me. I'm just looking to hire the best talent wherever I can find it. That right there, open-headedness to the max. Somebody has been against you and you are so open-headed that, hey, maybe we can still work something out. Maybe there was a mistake that happened there. Who knows? Now, it is 3 p.m. and I ask Norma for my executive assistant and the person who keeps my life organized, to bring me a lunch. A can of tomato juice. I rarely go out because mostly it's a waste of time. Yeah, not skipping on that. Gotta have that lunch. A lot of business people, they would skip their lunch and sacrifice their health to make more money. Trump is making more money. He is taking action during his day, taking big risks, but also taking care of his health. Going healthist with tomatoes. That's at 3 p.m. 3:15 p.m. I put in a code to Sir Charles Goldstein. He's out and I leave a message. He's a successful real estate attorney. I'm pretty sure Charlie Goldstein is from the Bronx, but he's a very pompous guy and has a tendency to act like royalty, so I call him Sir Charles. I own this deal. I'm gonna skip here, he goes a little bit too much in detail about Sir Charles. We don't really care about Sir Charles so much. This deal is to buy 2 condominium towers in the Palm Beach area. I own a house in Palm Beach, a spectacular place called Mar-a-Lago. And one day last winter when I was down for the weekend, I went out to have lunch with some friends. On the way, a pair of beautiful gleaming white towers caught my eye. I made a couple of calls. It turned out they'd been built for about $120 million and a major New York bank had just foreclosed on the developers. The next meaning, they are selling those towers. The next thing I knew, I was making a deal to buy the project for $40 million. That's what a Primal man does. He takes a risk. Gut says yes, he immediately goes with his gut, puts his money where he wants to put them in. That's the thing. That's how we do it. Now, 5:45 p.m. My 9-year-old son Donny calls to ask when I'll be home. I always take calls from my kids, no matter what I'm doing. I have 2 others, Ivanka 6 and Eric 3, and as they get older, being a father gets easier. I adore them all, but I've never been great at playing with toy trucks and dolls. Now though, Donny is beginning to get interested in building a real estate and sports, and that is great. Having that common interest, that common passion. Absolutely, that sounds great. I tell Donny I'll be home as soon as I can, but he insists on a time. Perhaps he's got my genes. The kid won't take no for an answer. 6:30 p.m. After several more calls, I leave the office and I take the elevator upstairs to my apartment in the residential part of Trump Tower. And that is it. the end of the day, 6:30 p.m., and that's it. No more work. Not burning the candle, but going home, going to see his kids. And that's it for tonight. Time to end right here. I'm gonna go home now, take a good bath, and get in my bed sheets. So if you're feeling drowsy, you can go to bed, or if you're not feeling yet drowsy, you can maybe watch some more episodes or listen to something nice and relaxing and get even more drowsy and even more sleepy. Get those eyelids nice and heavy and that head nodding all the way to the land of Nod. My name is Vulcan, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.